Welcome to IdeaMix Performance and Wellness, where world-leading coaches and scientists explain how their research can help you achieve your personal and professional goals faster. But for today, I think delving into this topic is particularly timely. I was at a gathering last night of C-suite women. We were probably about 30 women altogether. And each of us was there because we wanted to work actively on building or enhancing our personal brand. On September 28th in the workshop, Elizabeth is going to get into this in much more detail when she coaches a small, intimate group of us in a 60-minute workshop. I'll put the link in the chat shortly. But Elizabeth, tell us why so many of us struggle with building a personal brand.
Sure, absolutely. And it's quite timely, Sam, that you were with a group of female business leaders and CEOs, executives just recently talking about this. You know, it's kind of a buzzword right now. And I believe that we all, myself included, are overthinking what personal branding is, because personal branding is really quite simple. It's an intrinsic part of all of us, because your personal brand is your unique personal expression. It's your definition of you. And I believe that we struggle with it because we are trying to overcomplicate it. You know, your personal brand is your differentiator. It's how you define yourself. And it's really a basic statement of what matters most to you, who you believe you are, how you want to portray that, and what matters to you.
Excellent. Why is it, Elizabeth, why is it important that each of us has a distinct personal brand? You know, so many of us get so caught up in the day-to-day of our work lives, balancing those with our family lives. How does personal branding help us advance in our career or in achieving our personal goals, professional goals, sorry?
Yeah, personal and professional for that matter.
Yeah.
The idea of creating a personal brand and why it's important, and the benefits personally as well as professionally, really stem from creating an impression, putting yourself out there. So having a personal brand is your first impression, the first impression that you make, again, within your friends, your family, your personal life, but also professionally. How do you amplify who you are to those that are around you? It also creates a lasting impression. So thinking about developing your personal brand allows you to be self-reflective and to do some self-discovery work around what matters to you, your point of view, your conviction. It helps you to develop courage and connection to people. So to your question, Sam, about why a personal brand is important at the workplace, it allows you to connect to your peers, to those you work for, to those who work for you. It allows you to develop your stance, and how you come to life, what matters most to you. You take into account your experience, personal and professional experiences, your expertise, where your strengths really are, where they lie, what you may teach others based on your experience, but also where your willingness to learn and to be open to receive from others comes into play. A personal brand at the workplace allows you to differentiate yourself from your peers. It allows you to create a point of view for your customers, for your clients, for the public. And that expression of who you are may help you advance because you are more reflective when it comes to a self-assessment, 360 work that may happen at the workplace, the way you perceive yourself and the way others perceive you as well. I find when I work with clients in personal branding who are professionals and they're thinking about, hey, how do I develop my personal brand at the workplace? And does it need to be different in the context of the workplace? I typically guide them to, talk about first, how do you show up outside of work? How do you show up within the workplace. And why are there differences? Because you're the same you no matter where you are. So thinking about integrity and your consistency and continuity of you is very important. Personal branding at the workplace plays a role in career pathing. So thinking about your own advancement, pivoting, perhaps if you're thinking about, shifting your role or shifting the scope of work that you do, is really a time to consider how you bring yourself to life at the workplace so you may achieve your goals. Personal branding really is a form of goal setting.
Yeah. You've put it so well, and I really appreciate, Elizabeth, you describing all the various ways in which it matters. At last night's event, one woman talked about how for most of her career, she's now in her late 40s, right? For most of her career, she was well known in the organizations that she worked in because of the specific skill set that she had developed around operations, risk management, et cetera. And she's now in a new organization. And she said, for the first time, I'm in an environment where no one seems to care about where I came from or all the things that I did previously. And my kind of identity and brand has been focused on talking about those things. And I sort of have to pivot that brand, to your point, to find a new way to relate to these people and to build stronger relationships with my peer group of colleagues. Another woman talked about how she had been brought into a very senior role and asked to be a change agent, but then basically wasn't being empowered to be that person, and had realized the importance of her brand in allowing her to do the job that she had been brought in to do. And I wonder if you could comment a little bit on that.
I'm smiling as I'm hearing you talk because I'm thinking, wow, how lucky these women are to be in this place where it really is an inflection point, a time for them to say, hey, wait a second, the person I've always been, or at least the way folks have perceived me and the way I've really put my stamp of personal branding out there is shifting. People that I'm interacting with now may not care what I've done and how I've shown up in the past, and they have different expectations of me, or I may have different expectations of myself based on a shift in my role or my career stage. So I think they're very lucky to be in a place of uncertainty, because we're all able at any given time, if we take the moment to pause and really look within, to be deliberate and make choices to develop that brand image or that personal branding going forward.
Right.
So, what I'm saying is the way you've shown up in the past, that, reflection in the rear view mirror, what's come before you and how you've shown up in the past may inform you, who you are today and where you want to go. But there may be things about your experience, your expertise, the way you've shown up for others, the way you've developed your style in the past that no longer serves you. And I'm saying this, Sam, really about the workplace, the work that we've done, the way we've applied ourselves, the groups that we've interacted with may be part of our kind of toolkit of the past that has led us to where we are, but we may be at that inflection point where we're choosing to really pause and be thoughtful and take new steps to move forward. So I say, take everything that's brought you to where you are and decide what serves you now, how you want to amplify or optimize that past experience and that image of you, and recreate it if you choose. I believe that personal branding is certainly self-reflection. I've said that. It's defining who you are and how you want to be perceived by others in real life or online, in your personal life or in your professional context, and then refine it. Zhuzh it just a little bit along the way. We are dynamic in our lives, and we are always moving forward.
Yeah.
So when I think about, the dialogue that you had with some of your peers and friends, I think, what a beautiful gift to get to be creative and think about, hey, who am I now? Who do I want to be?
Yeah.
And how do I take steps to move toward that?
Yeah.
There's a little exercise that I do with my clients when we're talking about branding, and it's a 4 Ps, the 4 Ps of personal branding exercise. And it really starts with that pause to then peruse and look within and think about what served you in the past and how you want to take that forward.
Yeah, great point. So Elizabeth, you could be coaching on a lot of different topics. How did you get interested in coaching individuals on personal branding? And what makes you so passionate, as you clearly are, about coaching women in particular to build strong personal brands?
Well, I have a little bit of experience as a woman who has transformed personally over time. We all do. We go through different life and career stages, from both geographical relocations to educational growth to certainly family and career changes in our life. And in my corporate life as an executive for many years in customer experience, in retail, in fashion, in direct to consumer roles, I was a strategic advisor and a strategic executive related to how brands, how products and services come to life in the professional context. And in work that I've done and initiatives that I've led around helping companies and helping executives build mission statements and really bringing to life their, raison d'etre, their reason for being, their purpose, it has cascaded into my work as an executive coach, because it's such an intrinsic part of who we are, and that self-discovery and application from the self-discovery is meaningful work. It pays for itself. There's a return on investment, when companies create that vision, that mission for where they're going. They consider their core values and how they bring those to life. Within the personal realm, for me, I think about that regularly. I think about, what is my vision for myself? Where do I want to go and how do I get there? And the best way to do that really is by creating something of a roadmap, i.e. a personal mission statement, and then accounting for what matters to me. In the workplace, we think about brand values, core values. And similarly, creating a personal brand takes into account one's personal values, what matters.
Yeah, totally. So many women, and this was true again last night, are very comfortable with their professional brands, and they're well developed as hardworking, smart, determined, engaged, good at their jobs. But they get a little uncomfortable with the idea of their personal brands beyond sort of the work relationships that they have. Can you talk a little bit about how personal branding is different from professional or business branding?
Sure. And there are a lot of similarities. And I think the difference really lies in how we perceive ourselves and how we measure, if you will, how well we're doing. At the workplace. There are typically metrics and assessments and audits done around how well progress is being made, how well the ball is being moved forward, to use a little bit of a sports analogy. It's easier, I believe, to assess and measure success in the workplace, even as it relates to a professional brand. Personally, we are at times in a place of aligning where we are with where we want to go. And that delta between aspirations compared to our cognitive thought about ourselves around where we are today can be scary. And the difference really lies in creating a personal brand for yourself today, believing in where you want to go, and having the tools to get there by yourself. Sometimes with our personal brand, we use advisors, we use guides, we use coaches, we use friends and family to give us input, and we solicit feedback from them. But it's much more personal, and that self-discovery and introspection can be a little bit scary because, again, it's hard to measure how well you're doing.
Yeah.
In today's day and age, even from a personal branding standpoint, with social media and so much online, so much of an online footprint, I think there are ways to assess ourselves, but it's different than at the workplace, and we don't have that insulation of peers, and that sort of corporate or company structure to reference. It's quite singular when you're creating your personal brand.
Yep, totally makes sense. So you mentioned something that I want to pick up on.
Sure.
For many people, it's often hard to understand how a coach works with an individual on building and developing their personal brand. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so sometimes we hire coaches to work on a personal branding exercise or an engagement, and we've not worked with that coach before. So we're really starting at ground zero and building the relationship, creating our personal brand as we build the rapport with a coach. That's part of the exercise. For those who have worked with a coach for a long time and they already have a relationship, an engagement, a rapport built, the coach may show up in a slightly different context because they know kind of the backstory and understand where that coachee or that client has been. The benefit of a coach is to really provide a trusted guide relationship where with your coach, you're able to be completely authentic, completely real, and talk about what your vision for yourself is and build that roadmap. As an executive coach, as a wellness and a life coach with folks, particularly with women, we establish goals. And my role is to create a framework for that woman in defining who she is, creating some milestones around the goal setting and building that framework and bringing it to life. The blind spots that sometimes we have ourselves are hard to see. So a coach may hold up a mirror and show you who you are and help you reflect on who you are and how you're perceiving yourself. But also, as that sort of trusted guide and that confidant, a coach allows you to also hear how you're perceived by that person, sometimes through exercises that we do, modalities around the bigger picture, how your friends, your family, your peers, certainly your colleagues may see you. So putting some exercises and some benchmarks into place in both establishing your personal brand at the onset, but then also tweaking it and refining it is sort of the tandem work that a coach and a client do together.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you for that. Just a reminder for those of us who've joined more recently, on September 28th, Elizabeth is doing a paid workshop where we'll work with a small, intimate group on some proven tactical strategies to enhance your personal brand and professional presence. So please sign up at the link in the chat. Elizabeth, who do you feel personal branding is relevant for? Lots of people have a view that it's just for entrepreneurs and not really mainly for professionals or just for celebrities, but it sort of feels like it's relevant for everyone, right? Tell us about how you think about that.
Sure. So, when I think about professionals or individuals who are in the public eye and really have, let's call it a large stage that they're on or a small stage that they're on stage. It differs from those of us who perhaps aren't in the public eye in that way because we're not trying to sell ourselves to the degree that perhaps our livelihood relies on the personal brand. So there is a bit of a difference, return on investment, perhaps, from celebrities and those who are in the public eye. However, being able to develop who you are and really design and define your personal brand is relevant to everybody as we're growing, as we're discovering who we are. Again, the way it's measured and the ability to fine tune who we are, everybody has. Everybody has that opportunity and that skill. And I believe should do that. I think it's really important to align your passions with your purpose. For those who are celebrities, athletes, certainly those politicians who are assessed and perceived, and let's be honest, judged by a much broader audience, the ability to fine tune how they're coming across can indicate their livelihood, their success. And so it does vary a little bit. That's why, certainly folks who have a much more public persona hire a lot of people to help them, PR agents, marketing, et cetera, coaches. And the difference really lies in your ability to be nimble, your ability to finesse publicly versus a little bit more privately, but the importance of being clear and having conviction and being able to communicate who you are, I believe, is relevant both in the public eye as well as in the private eye, the private sector. It's really about connection.
Yeah.
And we all connect with others, regardless of the stage that we're on. And, I just want to state again that the connection to self and the process of building and establishing your personal brand really does start with that self-discovery, self-connection, so we may better connect to others.
Yeah, I so agree with you. I think, it's at every stage of our lives, at every step along the way, anything we do to build our self-awareness enhances us in the way that we present ourselves to every person we encounter and every interaction that we have, right? And that building and constantly enhancing that self-awareness is such a key element of why individuals are successful and why they learn and advance and evolve and marry their passion with purpose.
Sure. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. It's interesting, the implications of fine-tuning that brand, for somebody who is in the public and has, optically a lot more eyes on them and a lot more judgment and perception. The implications can be quite different and much greater if somebody missteps or does not show up and portray an image that is expected of them. And I think the expectations of what others have of us does play a role. However, I believe it's really important to stay true to yourself and to constantly assess how you're putting yourself forward and to refine along the way. Again, as I mentioned earlier, a coach can help somebody do that, through identifying the vision, the goals to reach that vision, that sort of personal mission statement that I talked about, and helping to see blind spots. Yeah. When someone is on a much more macro or public stage, if they misstep, that judgment and perception of the bigger audience can be quite damaging. And so yes, being aligned and ensuring that you have consistency and that continuity of how you want to present yourself is critical.
Totally.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, especially in some of the comments you made and the cost, in a sense, of getting that personal presentation or personal brand wrong when it comes to people in the public eye, but it's just as applicable to how we interact with our teams at work or how we are with family members, even in our personal lives. What are some of the most common mistakes that you see people making when it comes to how they show up and how they represent themselves?
Yeah, implications can definitely be there if we do misstep. So, I believe, and I've seen with my clients, and even I speak, from my own personal experience, that the mistakes that we make, or kind of the pitfalls that we fall into, are not soliciting input from others, those that we trust, and not being nimble or flexible to change, not
Yeah.
being willing to be adaptive. And as I stated, earlier, it's a lot of fun. It's a dynamic, creative, highly individualized process. And we can get stuck in ruts. We can get stuck in our way of thinking and assuming that what got us here will get us where we want to go, which means we're a bit inflexible to receive feedback.
This is
We're
such a common mistake all of us make,
Yes,
right?
it's true. It's such a common mistake. We need to be open to change. We need to be open to outcomes that lie ahead by soliciting feedback from others and being self-reflective and being willing to change.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. Any last comments and insights you have for us before we wrap up here, or anything you want to preview about the workshop coming up on the 28th?
Yeah, thank you. So that's it's 2 weeks from tomorrow, and I very much am looking forward to connecting with a smaller group. And as you mentioned, this is interactive, so we'll have some Q&A. I have a series of exercises that I'd like to share with this small group, where we can actually talk about that personal mission statement and how to establish the brand. I'd like to leave you with the idea that it's both cognitive and an emotional process. Building and establishing your personal brand is about what's in your head, how you think of yourself, how others think of you, but also what's in your heart. How do you want to feel? How do you want people to feel about you? And that's really, kind of a big takeaway from our next workshop.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone for joining us. We look forward to seeing many of you on the 28th. And thank you, Elizabeth, for your time.
Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing many of you. As Sam said, thank you for your time this morning.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe wherever you listen and leave us a review. Find your ideal coach at www.theideamix.com. Special thanks to our producer, Martin Maluski, and singer-songwriter Doug Allen.